I've spent more than $20 million on Google Ads using every campaign objective there is, including a bunch that don't even exist anymore. And in this video, I'm going to go through all the Google Ads campaign objective options and explain which one you should be using and when. So when you create a new Google Ad campaign, the very first thing you need to choose is your campaign objective. And it is absolutely crucial that you get this right, because it is going to determine, once you select your campaign objective, the options that are available to you as you go through the campaign creation process. And it's going to set a number of defaults and a number of options that are going to help you achieve that objective. So things like your default bidding strategy, for example, will be determined by which campaign objective you select. And your bidding strategy is very, very important because that determines how Google optimizes your campaign. And that can easily make or break a Google Ad campaign. That could be the difference between a really successful Google Ad campaign and one that isn't successful at all. So really, really important that you get this right at the beginning. And there's a reason why it's the first thing you choose, because it then determines a lot of other things. Okay, so just wanted to say that right at the beginning. So let's have a look at the specific campaign objective options and talk through them. So I want to start by talking about website traffic, because this is the option that a lot of beginners go for. They think, great, I want to send people to my website. Once they're there, they will go through and purchase, they will go through and become a lead, they will take the action that I want them to take. So let's go ahead and select website traffic and get Google to optimize for as many clicks as possible, get me as many clicks as I can through to my website. That's a very old school way of doing things. That used to work well. That used to be the way that we would do things as Google advertisers, is exactly that. Let's get people to a website and then let's get the landing page, the sales page, the product page to do the heavy lifting on the conversion process. But as the Google Ads platform has become more and more sophisticated over time, there are now much better options for most advertisers. If you go with website traffic optimized for clicks, then yes, you'll get a lot of people through to your website, but you might get a lot of clicky people. They won't necessarily follow through and take another action that you want them to take. So whilst it's a place that a lot of beginners start with, it's not what I'd recommend for the vast majority of advertisers. A lot of beginners also use website traffic because to use some of the other options I'm going to talk about later, you need to have conversion tracking set up on your website. So you need Google to know when a sale is made, to know when a lead is generated, and that data to be fed back into your ad account so that you can see it as the advertiser, but also so that Google can optimize the campaigns and get you better results over time. If that's too difficult, that's too technical, then you go, I don't need to worry about that. I'll just use website traffic and get people through to my website. I don't need to go ahead and do that. Now, the better approach is just to get conversion tracking set up. And there are many resources online and show you exactly how to do that, including videos on my channel. And there's also people that will set that up for you for a very small fee, places like Upwork, Fiverr, etc. Just basically, instead of going with that option, just get the conversion tracking set up, and that allows you to use other campaign objectives. The next one I want to talk about is create a campaign without a goals guidance. So this is the option that gives you the most flexibility as a Google advertiser. There's less presets, there's less default options, there's less restrictions. You can sort of create a campaign exactly how you want to do it. So there are Google Ad experts that like to use this because they don't like the funneling of settings and behavior that selecting the other objectives will give you once you get into it. If you are not a Google Ads expert, I would absolutely recommend you don't create a campaign without goals guidance because, well, you don't have that guidance, right? And it's a much higher percentage chance that you're going to use something that isn't right. You're going to set up the campaign in a way that really hurts your results. And there's a reason why these other options are available and why they give you a lot more guidance, and why this one is literally last in the list is because, yeah, you're more likely to create issues. I mean, there are experts that like this, but even people who are really experienced on the platform, it's not something that I would recommend they use. I think you're still better off going with one of the other options that better describes what it is that you want and provides those guardrails and makes it less likely you're going to make mistakes and informs Google what it is that you really want so that they can optimize. So even though, my agency certainly has the expertise to be able to use this campaign objective, we very, very rarely do. We're much more likely to use one of the other options. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is app promotion. Now, when you want to use this is pretty self-explanatory. Basically, if you're advertising an app, use it. If you're not advertising an app, don't use it. Pretty straightforward. Now, one fun thing about app promotion is it's not just getting app installs, right? You can also advertise to generate more engagement from existing users or get people to not only install but optimize for other actions within your app, like in-app purchase and things like that. But yeah, basically that is the perfect campaign objective if you are advertising an app. If you're not, stay clear. The same would apply for local store visits and promotions. So if you are a physical location business and you want to bring people to your store or your physical location, this is a good option to use. Sometimes businesses get confused. They think I'm a business that operates locally and therefore they go with local store visits. And you're like, unless you're bringing people to you, it's not the right way to go. So for example, let's say you're a local business, but you're a plumber and you visit people's properties, you're much better off not using that option. That doesn't really apply to you, even though just the word local, I think, can confuse people sometimes. But yeah, if you are wanting to drive people to a physical location of yours, that's the right way to go. If not, don't use it. So before I go through the other 3 campaign objectives we haven't yet discussed, I want to quickly let you know about our done-for-you Google Ads services. So my agency can create, manage, and optimize your Google Ad campaigns for you. We can take that workload off your hands. We can work out exactly which campaign objective you should be using and when, along with all the other things you need to get right to get the best possible Google Ad results. So like I said, we can take that workload off your hands. We'll almost certainly get you significantly better results than if you manage it yourselves, because we do this all day, every day, have done for years. So if that sounds interesting, there is a link in the video description below. You can click on that, come through to a page on our website and book in a free, no obligation call with one of my team members to find out how we are able to help and how we're able to get you the best possible Google Ad results. So yeah, if that sounds interesting, go ahead and book a call and hopefully we get a chance to work together. Next is awareness and consideration. Now this campaign objective used to be multiple different campaign objectives that were sort of combined into one, which I think makes sense given the names of the old versions. Now this is best suited to businesses with bigger budgets, because if you are a small or medium-sized business and you are concerned with the direct return you're going to get from your advertising, so what leads and sales are we going to generate from our ads in the short run, we need to convert those into cash to be able to keep our business running and grow and then be able to reinvest, which is the vast majority of small, medium, even some larger businesses are in that situation, then this is not going to be the best option. But there are, of course, companies with larger budgets that aren't operating in that sort of shorter term sales cycle, and they really want to be top of mind. And that's exactly what awareness and consideration is perfect for. Big businesses where they want their name, their brand name, to be synonymous with whatever it is they offer. So for example, if I say soft drink, you probably think Coca-Cola, right? They've done an enormous amount of brand awareness and consideration based advertising across many platforms over many decades, and therefore most of us have got that association, right? But it's a good way if small businesses go ahead and use awareness consideration, it's a good way for them to basically spend a bunch of money and not see much for it, not get those direct leads, those direct sales. Yes, they'll get awareness, they'll get reach. If you spend enough and you do that over a longer enough time period, it can be tremendously effective. I really like this option for larger businesses in many cases. But yeah, you've got to know when that's appropriate for you and when it's not. And for some big businesses that want that brand awareness, yep. For the rest of the pack, probably not. So that leaves me with sales and leads. And I want to talk about these two together because these are the two that most businesses should be using most of the time. Now, to decide between the two, which one you should be using, really depends on your business and whether or not customers can come through and directly check out and purchase. If they can do that in relatively short time period, they can click on a Google ad, come through all the way through to making a purchase, that's all trackable. You want to go with sales. If, however, there's an intermediary step that often involves some sort of interaction with the prospect, so let's say your sales funnel requires them to book a call or inquire and you're going to reach out, perhaps there's a visit, either you go to them or they come to you. In any of those scenarios, you want to use leads where you're not able to sort of directly and quickly track the click through to purchase. There's going to be that intermediary step with a sales call, with a free consultation, with an audit or something in there, then leads is better. Now, some Google advertisers try to game the system where they're really going after leads, but they select sales because they think that's going to help them get better results and more end customers. That's unlikely to be the case. It does to some extent depend on the sophistication of your tracking setup, but most of the time that's not going to be the case, and you don't want to try and game the system when it comes to any campaign objectives, to be honest. You want to go with the option that best describes what it is that you're looking for. That is a good rule of thumb. That is, if in doubt, that's the option to go with. And then when it comes to optimizing within that, you want to optimize for the thing that is furthest down the sales funnel, so furthest along the sales funnel from click to eventual someone handing you over money for a product or a service that you can accurately track. That's really, really important. Because in the scenarios where you can't track things, let's say you're sending people through to a third-party website where you don't have tracking functionality, well, you're not going to be able to use sales or leads. You're going to have to go with something like website traffic in that scenario. But the vast majority of businesses aren't in that scenario. They aren't looking for long-term brand awareness. They're not advertising a local physical location. They're not advertising an app, in which case sales and leads would be the way to go. One thing to note about campaign objectives as well is that you can't change them once they're already live. So let's say you've got existing campaigns, you've gone through this video and you're thinking, I'm not using the right campaign objective, I should be using this one instead. You are unlikely to be able to change that over. Instead, you're going to have to create a new campaign. But that is worth doing if you're using the wrong campaign objective for your business. Okay, so now that you know which campaign objective you should be using for your business, the next thing you need to work out and get right is which Google Ads campaign type you should be using in your Google Ad campaigns. I show you exactly what those are and which one you should be using in this video here. And your Google Ads campaign type is really important because it determines where in the Google Ads universe your ads are going to appear, from search to display to shopping to YouTube and even more options than that, right? So if you haven't already, go ahead and check this out.